Welcome, friends, and welcome to my space. I'm Sherry Pluskota, and I'm happy you are joining me live or listening at a future time. I appreciate you, and welcome, Donna, my co host for this evening.
Hello, Sherry. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I see, hey, Zach, welcome. I can hear you. I'm glad you're joining us this evening. I'm trying to get Wayne up here.
Nice. I see him.
Wayne, go ahead and send me a request. I've sent you one, but sometimes it's just easier if um, the audience member sends me the request for a microphone in that bottom left corner. It kind of speeds up the process. And I'm just going to make a couple announcements while we wait for um, Wayne to join us. Um, First of all, many thanks to my sponsor, Elevator Results. If you need a tailor made workout plan to help you lose weight or gain weight, Elevator Results can design that plan. Follow them on Twitter and check them out on their site at elevatorresultspt.com. Also, be reminded that you can find the recordings of all my past spaces, including our daily WSOP coverage and my WPT daily coverage, as well as all the interviews on my YouTube channel at Sherry Pluskota 9212. And it looks like Wayne's probably having some technical issues. Let's see if there he is. Wayne, you there?
Yeah,
Perfect.
it doesn't work on desktop.
No,
It's only
no, you
oh,
have to be
okay, got it.
on a telephone. So,
Got it.
welcome. Um, just give me a couple of minutes. I'm trying to do a couple of house cleaning things, and we'll get on the way. Um, at this moment of time, I would like us to take a minute for a moment of silence and pray for those that are affected by the wildfires in California, as well as those that were affected by the horrible acts in New Orleans. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you again. We are going to talk about the wildfires in California. Of course, that subject is way more important than any poker is right now. However, because sometimes people come to spaces to escape the real world, we will go into the interview of Wayne and poker after we discuss those California fires for a few moments in time. So, first, I'd like to start out with some phone numbers and websites, and I will repeat them again. So, get a pencil and paper ready if you need to. Um, Gavin Newsom's phone number, that's the governor of California, is 916-445-2841. To sign up for the LA County Alerts, that website is lacounty.gov/emergency. FEMA has their website listed at fema.gov/disaster/wildfire. And the LA Red Cross's phone number is 310-445-9900. And again, I will repeat those again as our space goes on. So, again, welcome Donna and Wayne and Zach and all of our listeners. I'm glad you guys can all join me this evening. Wayne and Zach, please meet my co host, Donna.
Hey, Donna.
Hello.
Hi, Wayne. Hi, Zach. Hope you're both okay. Sherry, I'm just going to have to dip and be back because it's glitchy.
No worries. No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne, tell us what you're experiencing or what you'd like to share with us about the wildfires.
So first of all, like we know, people tend to step outside of their lane, especially in the poker industry, and be experts on everything. So I'm just going to stay in my lane and say that I'm on the front lines. Like Tuesday night, we got wind of this stuff, and I started seeing stuff on the news. I only knew about the Pacific Palisades fire, and then I heard about the Eden fires, and then I get alerts from my friends in Pasadena and Altadena, and I offered to help move some of their stuff to my place, and I had no idea the fires were getting so close. So that was already um, quite an experience. The fires were quite a distance from the northern side of Pasadena at the time. And then Tuesday morning before the Bally Live Poker Live, the Commerce Stream, and Wednesday morning, I also helped, people move their stuff into my place. And, Wednesday, the fires are already getting closer, and Thursday, yeah, you could see like ashes in the air. And power went out, internet went out for a lot of the people there. Even stores in my area which is like 4 cities down, were closed.
Right.
And at Commerce, there was light ashes in the air, and Commerce is way the hell down, like maybe 7 cities down from Pasadena.
Wow.
So, I specifically asked Zach Elwood to join because a lot of his work has gone to like the depolarization of, just like sides ripping on each other. And it just like he and I are very aligned when it comes to, well, look, when shit goes down, like things need to be done. Like all this political
Well,
attacking is
and
just not
honestly, we're
solving
not
problems.
we're not going to get into the politics of it.
Yeah.
I am trying to stay on the focus on the human side of that, and what the needs are, what you see happening as somebody that lives in that area that's trying to help others in that area. What are ways people can help?
I mean, there's like donations to Red Cross, and there's a lot of stuff that this isn't supposed to get into politics, but they just need manpower, resource, and not have people getting in the way. And that's unfortunately what social media is kind of doing. And I can
Yeah,
only
I'd say from a
yeah.
I don't want, yeah, I'm not going to drag it into politics, but I do think the
Yeah.
meta level thing is, the way I see these things playing out, it's like every social media has made everybody feel like they're a sort of press secretary. Everybody has to issue their statements as soon as something happens, and then that irritates other people, and then that creates more polarization and irritation. That makes people wait and more when things happen. It's kind of like this self-reinforcing cycle of toxicity,
Okay,
and so many
as I
things we
said,
say are
we're going to
yeah.
stay focused on what we can do, the humanitarian effort. So, do you
Yeah.
guys have any people, schools, churches that are local that are taking up funds? Because I personally prefer to give directly to a person that needs it versus a Red Cross. So, are there any local churches that are collecting even items that we can get in touch with to help in that regard?
I'm sure there are. I've been focusing on like my personal network. There are definitely restaurants as well offering free food to the people affected as well as the firefighters. Um,
What?
People like Barry Woods have left the Malibu area. He's safe.
Awesome.
Um, I know 2 people who are on the show. I don't want to talk about their identities, but
Right.
they've lost their houses and their businesses. And we already know this, like the insurance companies going to drag this out. And at least the one in Altadena does like his fire insurance got yanked like like half a year ago or something. I mean, everyone could read about it in the
Okay, so let me just challenge you with this. As these next few days go on and even weeks, information is going to come to you in ways of helping on a local level. I know in
yeah.
one thing that some restaurants did during COVID is you could send a donation to a local restaurant and they were providing meals to people with those donations. Washington State and Spokane had an amazing network of restaurants working together in that regard, and it was awesome. It was phenomenal. And so, if you could come up with any of that kind of how do you say it,
I'll come up with
local
more
effort.
links and posts and in the response. Right now, like I said, I've been focusing more on the personal
Of
relations I have.
course, of course, as
And
you
yeah,
should. But I just ask, you can even just DM me.
yeah,
But I like to disseminate that type of information,
yeah,
ways of helping a grassroots effort. And we know that, at least 95% of it is going to the person in need, right?
yeah.
Uh, and your dollars being well spent. So if you guys can, if you hear something, let me know, post it, tag me, whatever. That'll be amazing. Donna, you have
Just
any
what
questions about that? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, watch out for scams too, because I was reading about,
Exactly.
whenever these things happen, there's scams to watch out for. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Another reason I
Fundraising
try to go
scams.
with information from people I know. And I mean, it's not always foolproof, but at least it gives us a head start on some good information, right? Donnie, you have any questions about the fires or for these guys about the fires?
Yeah, from over here, it's horrendous. It's really frustrating for me as well. Excuse me, because I can't do anything, and I'm just wondering how everybody's coping over there. Because I'm getting my information from X, and I want to know firsthand from people that's actually over there right now, and that's dealing with friends, with family, and with other people that's going through this. How are you coping with all this? Because it must be
I
really stressful for you all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not immediately affected. Like I said, I was just helping my personal network, and a lot of them who lost their homes or are in close to the affected areas have already abandoned their places and they've gone to like San Diego, the Bay Area, or Orange County to stay with family. And yeah, the air quality's not good. And that's the thing is like we can't actually do much because
Right.
really it's about the firefighters and the water. So supporting people is like, okay, well if they need a place to stay, if they need food, we're obviously open to that. But a lot of the people, their homes that um it seems like it's not gonna delve into Pasadena, but yeah, I mean they just like kind of left the area and just like they've brought their personal items and valuables, the ones that are,
Right.
not replaceable or difficult to replace.
Well,
But
and
people, yeah,
thankfully they've caught a young man, right? And hopefully he acted alone. And so hopefully there won't be any, new fires set. They caught the arsonist and if he's indeed the guy, hopefully they'll ring him up to dry. If he's not, then hopefully they'll release him soon. But hopefully he acted alone and there won't be any other fire started so that the situation can come under control. Hopefully, there's thousands and thousands of acres on fire still, and it's going to take a few days, but hopefully, it will be under control.
yeah. The last update in the last like 6 hours is they're fighting back like a little bit, but at least we know reinforcements are coming, and in the next 3 months, Biden has mentioned that it's all going to be the cost will all be covered, so that should at least assuage that it'll get done.
Yeah, they're spending all kind of FEMA dollars, so hopefully it'll get done quickly. They're bringing in our military
Yeah.
planes to drop water or drop the fire retardant, so that's a great thing. I'm going to move us along And first, I want to acknowledge Zach Elwood that stopped in today and let you guys know, in case you don't, who he is. And then I'll introduce Wayne properly as well. Zach, I'm glad you're joining us. And for those of you that don't know, Zach, I think, is still a retired poker player, from what I understand. And he's written several books in the world of poker, and I will list them: Reading Poker Tells in 2012, Verbal, if I could speak, maybe I need that book. Verbal Poker Tells in 2014, Exploiting Poker Tells in 2017, and A Killer Poker Mind in 2019. He
Oh,
also
that's not mine. I don't know what that one is.
Oh, they had that under your name.
Huh.
Thank you for correcting that.
Right.
And you also have a video poker series that's more than 12 hours long, and it is a poker tell series that highlights real cash footage on the subject matter. So I just wanted to give you a little shout out to what you're doing in life. And I know you have a podcast, um, and I believe it's called People Who Read People. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's it. And
Perfect.
yeah, thanks for having me on. Thanks, Wayne, for inviting me. I don't think I have much to add. I know it's Wayne's show tonight, but thank you all for letting me come on.
Well, I'm sure you have plenty to add. Believe me, we are very informal. We try to keep it, as informal as we can, and we try to let the conversation kind of drive itself. And so I would like to also introduce my guest, Wayne Chiang. He's a producer over at Ballys Live Poker, at Live at Commerce, and also is involved with Live at the Bike. Wayne is the inventor of a new casino game, which we're going to dive into shortly. My guest is also a gaming specialist and senior editor. Wayne joined Bally's Corporation as the director of business development in 2021. He is a StarCraft world champion, a number one Command and Conquer at Command and Conquer, and Wayne is also a legend of Play Hearthstone. All of that is Greek to me, but I'm sure some of you know exactly what all that is. Wayne has a total live earnings on Hendon Mob of over 16,000, with his best live cash of $3,390 for his fourth place finish in the $1,100 Omaha 8 or better at Bell Gardens in 2022. So I appreciate both of you gentlemen joining us today. And I want to start out with a question for you, Wayne. And I know you saw it because you responded to it. One of my listeners and supporters, Jeff with two F's, posted a question to you the other day that I would like for you to touch on. And the question was, please ask him why Bally Live has relaunched 3 times yet refuses to brighten the set or upgrade the picture quality. It's baffling how dark they made the set, and I would love to get insight to the decision.
Okay, so the equipment itself, I've heard, is basically top, but the dark set, it doesn't translate well to YouTube. And since the Live of the Bike relaunch, I think it was 2019 April, just, that was
Right,
known. The thing is, the vision for Bally's, and I'm not involved with the decision making, is they wanted those back screens to be able to display extra stuff, extra ads, and those
right,
screens were the priority, because that's what their vision was for a poker show and a live stream, is to have completely live interaction with the players in the audience and potentially have the audience involved.
right,
And that's at the lighter sets, which we all probably advocate for because it's a more natural poker environment, or just, yeah, you can't see the back screens as well. I know some other shows have those screens, but the whole point of Bally's doing it is to use those screens to interact, or just in an interactive manner
right, right,
with the
right.
audience.
Awesome. Thank you for answering his question. I appreciate that. Um, you've had some great lineups for that Bally's Live table. From the ladies' table that included some of our space's favorite, like Veronica Brill, to Phil Locke, to Garrett and Julie and Maria Ho and Jungle Man and Masato, just to name a few. What is your next big lineup or, scheduled show that you want us to get excited about?
Well, we definitely want to try to get a Garrett Adelstein game back. There's, a lot of history between me and him working together all the way back to Live at the Bike, but a lot of it stems to just the history. Like Garrett's been around for a very long time. Like he and I are the same poker generation. We've seen a lot of people come and go, and we're kind of like survivors. So I would like, if newer people, and Masato's actually one. He's been around, but for poker media wise, he just emerged like a few years ago. A lot of people want a piece of Garrett. They want a piece of Masato. But the thing is, you need to develop your following to a point where it's like a boxing match or something where it's like it's hyped up. Like there's so many
Absolutely.
people on the internet that are just like, oh, I'll play Garrett heads up for rolls. Like that's nice. Like what does he have to gain from it? It's like a boxing match. Like if people are gonna beat the crap out of each other, they need an incentive. So the way the original kind of model works with famous poker players is that they draw viewership and then they have options on these shows to, make money off potentially weaker players. And the other players get an experience of, a higher viewership show. They get to have fun and they get to have clips on the internet for all time, whether you want them or not, so to say. So basically, this is an industry where it's very fluid, where when the interest of your performance on camera goes up, then that's basically where it heads. And then people like, Garrett Adelstein, Masato, Phil Locke, Mariho, Kitty Quo, all them who I have, closer relations with, they just have option. And basically if there's any new school people that want to come along, then just contact me and we'll see what happens. Because Wolfgang's come on, Lexo's come on.
Oh, yeah, the list goes on. And I'm
Yeah.
going to tell you something you may not know about me is used to watch Live at the Bike before I even started playing poker. And I then really started watching it to like learn about table dynamics, who the players were, how they're playing, because I could hear the table talk. And like I used it as a teaching tool when I first got into poker. And I'm going to tell you, Garrett's always been my favorite. I mean, it just is what it is. I just always liked his demeanor. He's such a crusher. He reads souls, and he makes big calls and makes big folds, and love watching Garrett. Of course, he's been in spaces with me before, and I've always enjoyed his company. Many of us have that are in this space right now. So um, I look forward to your lineups. And of course, you've had several different folks in the booth. Um, and I enjoy Craig's in there, Cairo's in there. When you had some of the ladies swapping in and out, I thought that was kind of a fun way of, rotating people in and out of the booth. I thought that was really kind of cool. And I would love for you to do that, not only with the ladies, but maybe more the folks at the table. Great concept.
Yeah, I mean, if starting from Live at the Bike, we always wanted people who are actually playing to commentate because they have
Yeah.
insight. They know what it's like to play on camera. And I asked the commentators to, play on camera a few sessions, and most of them have. Brian Hastings hasn't played on the Live at the Commerce stream, but he's been around for 20 years. But the two most popular commentators are Brian Hastings and Phil Locke, and
Oh, yeah. Who can't love Phil? I mean, come on.
yeah, so they kind of just have
Brian does
first
a great
dibs.
job.
Yeah. And then for, there's a lot of top pros that are top pros in commerce, which, for the rest of the world is very high. And they, play online as well. So people like, Jared Greiner, Peter Cross, Ryan Malky or whatever, because I see them. I know Paul Heiser is one of them too. So we get insight on them, and they, battle on the floor very frequently. Prolette Friedman's there too. So yeah, there's just a lot of people to draw from. The commentary is kind of the easy part. It's more on their availability. But
Sure.
like, people like Prolette and Hastings, Phil Lockney, whatever, we've been around for like 20 plus years. And yeah, Ryan Malky is actually good friends with Neil. I don't want to reveal his last name. And then I think he's pretty good with Kevin Rabichow too. So it's like when you see these people playing well and then you hear about their background and who they're affiliated with, it's like, oh, no wonder, they
Right.
have these abilities.
Right, absolutely. And just in case you don't know, Phil and Jen love to hang out in our what we call the Gitmo of spaces and listen to us anonymously. So we love the two of them for sure. Um, do you have any? Let me backtrack a minute. Because you're knee deep in the LA poker scene for so long, um, definitely going to start picking your brain about that scene. Do you have any comments or opinions about the Mike Postel situation?
Yeah, so as that was going down, even before it was going down, there were always talks about security because of the real time aspect or even a 15-minute delay. And most of the credit goes to director Brian Arakaki, who preempts a lot of possible cheating. So before Poker GFX was the current software, he created his own system where nobody could see the whole cards, and he had a password in emergencies to see the whole cards. But there's a camera on him at all times when he's directing. So
Great.
that's something that
Great caveat.
right. So it's like we didn't want to publicize it that much to the public because no system is foolproof.
Right.
And people trust him, people trust me, and we always are like, especially for the players who are buying in for large dollar amounts, it's like if you want to see what we're doing so your mind is at ease, like go ahead. And because I've been around a long time and the players that come on have been around, when you start seeing somebody that isn't hasn't been around or something and then they just appear, it just like it draws, there's more suspicion on that person. So, and a lot of people from out of town, they want to come on, but at the same time a lot of people in LA, they don't often get seats. So it's like a really tough juggle because there's a finite amount of seats.
Right. 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 So you brought up security.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the security vulnerabilities of not having a delay on a poker stream?
This is a huge can of worms, and Brian and I have talked about it a lot. So he handles the tech side, and I handle the human side. So from the tech side, now Poker GFX has a trustless system, so nobody can see the whole cards. And
Awesome.
if, yeah, so when there wasn't a delay and there were handheld cameras, it opens a lot of can of worms. It's just like, now no phones are allowed at the table on all streams, that's a lot of it. That's just like a speed bump. If somebody really, really wants to cheat, it'll get done. And I've told this to Garrett, Andy, and whoever. And then Garrett was like, that's not what I want to hear. And I told him, I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you about reality. So there's like a lot of things like signaling. If
Right.
there's live cameras, the way that you maneuver, the cameraman maneuver gives away who has what as well.
Right.
Because it's like if you and I are in a hand and the camera was on, the famous player, say Maria Ho is there, the camera's on her, and all of a sudden the camera is on me, and you, it's like, okay, we have hands, and then we could start narrowing each other's ranges based on the board.
Right.
And it allows for potential signaling if somebody has access to the back cards, like they could tell the cameraman who's winning or whatnot, which is potentially one of the speculations that happened with the Jack 4 Robbie incident.
Oh, okay. So I'm glad you brought it up. Um, so you think there's a possibility, or somebody's brought it to the attention, that the signaling between camera persons was a possibility? Is that what you're saying?
There's a lot of possibilities, and I've talked with a massive range of people on the matter, and there's definitely evidence for both sides of whether there was cheating or not. But from the operational standpoint, like Brian Arakaki and I know the most about what could have went down, because we had to, but mostly him, had to brainstorm how to fight it
Right.
back
Prevent it.
before even Possible happens. Yeah. And
Right.
then another thing is, like, when Bally's wanted real time games, we warned them all ahead of time. And the liaison at the time was like, just do real time, just do real time. And there's a lot of things that you can't stop. Like if somebody wants to go to the bathroom, like then they're just gonna leave and they could check their phone on what's going on. Or, the live audience can also just say whatever they see. And that's why when it was real time, we had to have like no hole card information. Because if you have a live chat and they see the hole cards, then they could literally just type in chat and the person at the table could see. There's a lot of things that, when you aren't in the weeds and you aren't doing it, it's not to say that they aren't valid ideas, but it's the people who are actually hands-on who know better how to adapt or what's practical. So, Brian and I had mentioned that this was an issue with real-time hole cards, and they want a certain product, and it's not to say that it's impossible, but it needs a lot of time, energy, and resources to execute.
A lot
And
of checks and balances.
a lot of checks and balances, and the players need to be okay with it. Like, that's
Right.
like the one of the liaisons was just like, oh, we could have the players vote the audience vote if the players go all in. I'm like, that's not going to happen. It's their money. Why would it, like, it just, there's a lot of stuff that just escapes. It's, when you're stuck in a room in a meeting and you want things to be done and you're not dealing with reality or the players involved or their money, it's like, oh yeah, it's really easy to say.
It sounded like a comment from someone that may have never played poker in their life. But anyway, I'm just curious as to, there's been a big focus here in the last 6 months or 9 months about these micro mini cameras, and these
Yeah.
that are in jewelry, or, part of
Yeah.
a card protector, whatever. What are your thoughts on those, or that type of cheating?
So it's been attempted to be mitigated in Europe by, when they have the card straight up, like, flattened and slid
Right.
to the
Right.
players.
Slid across the table.
Yeah, and then people again who aren't operators are like, "Oh, why does the US do that?" And so, if you're in a American casino, you already see how much abuse the dealers take. It's like they're not going to do anything extra on top of, like,
And you're talking about retraining.
yeah,
Retraining people
it's
that have been doing it one way for their whole life, 20 years,
yeah.
30 years, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we know, when there's money involved, especially in the casino industry, it's not just the casino industry, but just like every industry where there's money involved that is tangible and you could receive quickly, there's going to be attempted scams. And it's about the chicken and the egg of, like, can you catch them before it gets too far? Can you think of things ahead of time? that's why the California card rooms that I worked at, which are Commerce and the Bike, and I have good, close relations with the Gardens. They spend so much time, energy, and resources on security, and something like background checking, source of funds, Title 31. It's all, I have to kind of give the casino the best intel I can on somebody, and then even somebody in the back can veto whether they can play on the
Right.
stream or the card room or
Right.
not.
So do you think there was cheating in the J4 hand or not?
I would say likely, but I have definitely heard, Joe Ingram has said that no, and Lyman has said no. I'm very close to both of them, and their arguments are definitely valid. Me and Brian, again, we have the most proprietary information of the back. So if there was, then we could speculate how it happened, which that's something that the people just watching the videos can't, or just don't have enough knowledge
Yeah,
to
all
be
around
able to.
knowledge, right?
Yeah,
They have
so
the
that's
player's point of view, but they don't have the back room point of view.
right. At the same time, like accusing somebody of cheating is very serious, and you
Yeah,
don't want to be doing
absolutely.
bad things. Yeah, it's just like, and shout out to like Doug Polk, Joe Ingram, Matt Berkey, and all the people who are just doing their best to like ascertain what could have happened if there was or wasn't.
Right. Just
But in
trying
the
to get
end,
the
it's
facts.
yeah, and they don't have they want to get down to the bottom of this because nobody wants cheating to happen, like the media nor the operators.
Right. Of course. We want the, integrity in our game, right? Um,
Yeah, so like it's been spoken, if there was like Nick Vertucci and Ryan Feldman were not involved,
right.
this would have been like
Right.
Brian, Robbie, and anything else. And there's been a lot of arguments like she's changed her play or whatnot, and like people can improve or people can be different, and some people are more impulsive. There's a lot of things, and some people, like Joey said, she might have been under the influence of something. It's like a lot of things are definitely valid that could have done this and could have ran out like this, but just having the knowledge of the back end and some of the pauses in between before she calls, it just, to me, it weighs towards something happening. I think Zach, do you want to weigh in on this, because we had talked about this as well?
Go right ahead, Zach.
Well, it's Wayne's show, and more about the back side of things than I do. I mean, personally, I thought, like you said, accusing someone of cheating is
Is
very
bad.
serious, and I don't think it's good to do that unless you're very, very sure. And it's, to me, it was not nearly at any sort of certainty as it was with Possible from what I saw. And I did a video about that, and I think it's quite possible that she misread her hand and actually thought she had a low pair, but then she pretended and went with the story of like to try to save face that she didn't misread her hand, and then it got garbled, and so she was embarrassed and then didn't turn back. I think there's many ways that it could play out really awkwardly. That and then you also have to factor in people just get flustered on the cameras. Like I remember when I first played on Live at the Bike, and it was pretty low stakes, and I got flustered just from like the idea of people watching me and stuff. And I think
Well,
there's
and
many
we also
that,
get tired, right? We get a little brain fog after playing poker for a while, and sometimes you just skip a beat.
yeah,
I
and
mean, it's human
she was
nature at a poker
obviously,
table.
yeah, like Wayne was saying. I think there's many. I just think it's bad to like accuse someone confidently without a lot of evidence. But yeah,
Hundred
that's
percent,
my take. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and Zach's take is also one taking in. And at this point, not even at this point, even back then, we're all just discussing.
Yes.
None of us are drawing like
Definitely
conclusions,
not
but
accusing anybody. I like to hear everybody's opinion on the subject because
Yeah.
I've changed mine from I was of one mindset when it first happened, and then I watched some of these investigative, streams with Joey and Polk and Berkey, and then I was changed my mind, and then I changed it back, and and then I finally said, you know what? who cares? Like it, they have to sort it out amongst themselves. And Garrett keeps saying that he has other information he's going to release. I'm not sure what that's about, but I'm all
Well,
about
it's
moving
just
on.
it's different. Like on a personal note with Garrett, it just like he got attacked quite a bit for his actions. And if you also watch his podcast, like he's been cheated in home games,
Right,
and he acted in similar fashion.
right.
Is like, look, you give me this back, and we don't speak of this again. And that's how it happened then. And he pretty much, kind of repeated that.
And I'm kind of on the mindset when that money was returned and whatever he donated it. I thought that was just a great way to just neutralize the whole situation, and we're done with it, quite honestly. And you know what? We'll never know the whole story, will we? Now, I want to talk to you about you being a casino game inventor. Your game is Two Handed Hold'em, and you're
Yeah.
getting ready to launch it in a casino in Washington State. So let's talk about how long you've been working on inventing that game and like how'd that get started,
So, um, in about 2015, I was working with one of my best friends, Jay Severson, who's also a StarCraft World Champion and the co-founder of Chess.com. And he was dabbling in a bunch of side projects, some involving crypto. Actually, this one did too. It was Gambit.com, and he kind of asked me if I had game design ideas, and if he thought they were good, he would put them on Gambit, and then I had equity, whatever, in Gambit.com. Um, so my first game was Chains, and it was like pretty good, but like I knew I could do better. Then I just like sat down and invented like 25 plus games, and Two Handle was one of them. And immediately after I created it, I had to check the math to see if it favored the house, and it did. And that's one of the hardest parts, because you could design fun games, but if it doesn't favor the house, they're not going to run
of
it.
course.
So I started the patent process in 2015, and April 2015, and I just learned a lot about the legal system. I don't know what more to say.
Well, and you and I
It's
spoke about
yeah.
the process because I have a friend that's been through it. But can you kind of touch on what that process has looked like? You invented the game, then you had to go. Did you have to hire a gaming lawyer?
Oh
You
yeah.
said something about a patent. So just give our audience a little bird's eye view of all the little boxes you had to check,
So a couple famous poker players are actually patent attorneys. One's Greg Raymer and one's Andy Block.
right?
Um, so I reached out to a recommended patent attorney in the Los Angeles area, and we worked for a bit. And it's like the USPTO is going to likely reject your claim right in the beginning, and you just have to go through a back and forth process. And there's no guarantee if you're going to get it. So you just kind of like do your best. And if there's a product similar to yours, or even if one patented or even patent pending similar, it's like, you know what, you're going to be out of luck. So, and nobody's going to know the answer as you pursue this.
Right.
So it's a really massive risk and investment. And that's kind of just like many entrepreneurship ventures, is like you could just be doing this all for nothing. So that first patent attorney wasn't able to, the trajectory wasn't looking good. So then I have a patent attorney in San Diego. I've known him for 15 plus years, James Hurt. He's at Shepherd Mullen now. And he was still in law school, and he's like, one helped me so bad because he pretty much knew what to do.
Right.
But in the interim, I went with Kenobi Martins, and they were on the correct path as well. And my second casino game, they actually completed that patent, but then the first one was in limbo. And then James Hurt, um, I'm not sure if he was at Perkins and Coie at the time or Shepard Mullen, but he was able to seal the deal in like 2021. So it took like 6 years.
Hey Wayne, can I ask you something? I was curious. Did you
Sure.
have confidence like that it would eventually get placed somewhere? Did you feel good about it, or how?
In 2017, I got a license agreement with Commerce Casino, and um, actually, I got a text from Commerce to not talk about certain subject matters, but they're not approved. The DOJ is not approving games right now, and I literally missed it by like a month or two about the approval process, or I don't know, like maybe it wasn't that close. But starting from February 2017, I think they weren't approving new games, so it technically should have launched earlier, but then COVID happened. So like a lot of things is like you pull the trigger, but you just don't know how much the world's gonna push back, and it's not your fault, the world's fault.
Yeah, life's a gamble.
Well,
Yeah, well, it really is. Yeah.
and so tell us where you're at now. So, you're going to launch it in Washington State any day now. And what's that
Yeah.
look like?
So I remember Eric Person, and he's very progressive, and I presented him the game, and he was willing to give me a shot. And this was like over 2 years ago. It takes a really long time
Right,
for regulatory
right.
processes to be seen through. So yeah, it should be launching next week in the Great American Casino in Tukwila, Washington. I don't know if I'm pronouncing
You
that
are.
correct.
And why don't
Yeah.
you describe what your game is? How you play it?
So it piggybacks off of the original Texas Hold'em game, and you get dealt 4 cards, and you see a flop right away, and you separate your 4 cards into 2 sets of 2 whole cards. And if you like your hand, you could raise it 2x, and then the dealer is going to play best 2 out of 3 after the turn and river are dealt. So it could respond with this spaces with a link to the online demo and also the YouTube demo.
Yes. Let's put that in the chat. And I'm going to tell you, um, I did watch the demo, and it's going to be a fun game to try. I'm not going to lie. I definitely would try this game. You're playing two hands of hold'em in one, and who doesn't like that?
Yeah, and people have complained that, oh, I don't have a hand in these 4 cards, which we all know from PLO that happens. But if you're not going to get a hand out of 4 cards, you sure as hell weren't going to get it out of 2 cards.
So true. I know Stapes did a little demo. So tell us what he thought of it.
Eric Person just kind of, I mean, he's got a lot on his mind. So I completely relate to him. Like when somebody tells me, oh, can you do this or do that? It's just like, it's definitely not because I don't want to give it attention and credence, but I just don't have time and energy and bandwidth. Because one of the biggest pressures on the stream is if the game doesn't go, then there's a lot of resources wasted.
Of course.
There's no show.
Of course.
So Eric Person, who owns I think around 35 casinos now,
Right.
his mind is on that stuff. So he was gracious enough to give me time, and he always responds to me. And so I'm trying to make life easier for him, whereas he's giving me a chance, and I'm using my effort to market my game and his places that have the game.
Right. And tell us a ballpark figure, if you don't mind, of what it's going to, bottom line to get a game into a casino.
There's no there's no number. You have to be prepared. You're either going to go all the way or it's just going to crash, and you could spend infinite. You can even spend infinite on illegal bills because you have to choose what to spend on.
I
It's
just want to hear,
yeah.
I want you to tell our listeners, because some people think that those things in the world of casinos is like such an easy thing to do. You know what I mean? Like
Oh no,
we have,
it's one of the
it's
harder things
very
to do. I mean,
difficult.
yeah, I mean,
Wayne's just trying to discourage competitors. Don't listen to him. It's very easy.
yeah. No, if you want, go to G2E. Like that stuff's full.
Trust me.
I really don't care because the thing is, like about competitors, because if this game was invented, it would have happened already.
Well, and I went through the process with a very good friend of mine, and he spent 50K just on lawyers, and he has,
Oh yeah, that's way lower
yeah,
than me.
he,
But it's also 50K might be worth more back then than
right.
now.
But some, people really don't have a concept because they've never been through the process. And I thought it was
Yeah.
interesting that we could actually talk about the process so people can get some type of knowledge base of what it looks like and the
There's
costs involved.
literally no guarantee because there are
Right.
clones of like Ultimate Texas Hold'em. By the way, Ultimate Texas Hold'em doesn't have a patent; it's patent pending. So there are competitors of Ultimate Texas Hold'em literally doing the identical or close to identical layout and calling it something else, but it's not out there that much. So what potentially is going on is somebody else has a completely different trademark and process and charges like a lower premium.
Right. Right. And then
So yeah.
let me ask you this. Um, m- my friend was under like time frames once the game got into a casino for testing purposes. Is there a time frame?
What do you mean?
Like they gave him 3 months for the game to prove itself. I don't remember the
Oh,
time
I
frame.
mean, yeah, I mean,
Or
there's
it may have been 6 months. I don't really
I get
remember.
6 months. I get
Yeah.
nothing for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so they could yank it at 6 months, which if it doesn't perform, of course,
Right.
because they're spending resources too. I had to train the dealers. Um, they're doing promotional materials. So basically, what happens is survival of the fittest. Like, it's nothing personal. Like, if you perform better than their worst game, you get to stay.
Absolutely.
So
And
yeah.
you had to provide, did you have to provide the felt?
The felt design and each place that you license the game to, they likely have their own custom styles. So Maverick Gaming has a really cool like felt style. It's like blue, it's got a dragon on it. So in Commerce had like the table games there have the Commerce logo on there. So what you're doing as the game licensee is you just allow them to use your products. And it's like you could use my patent, you could use my trademark, you could use my copyrights, et cetera, et cetera. And now that social media and videos are more prevalent than they were before, there's clauses about using likeness and where these videos are going to go. So there's no quick answer
Right.
to
Right.
these, and there's definitely no
Right.
guarantees.
Right, absolutely. Donna, I need you to unblock that person, ma'am. Okay, I just wanted to kind of give our audience a little bird's eye view of
Sure.
kind of what that process looks like, because I know that most of us, and I only do because I have a friend that went through it, don't really know that process, and I find it interesting. Just pivoting for a minute. I'm going to ask. I appreciate Zach so patiently waiting and enjoying our conversation. But Zach, I'm going to ask you a question because I only think it's fair because you've been such a great sport to join us.
Oh, don't worry
Um,
about me. I was just here to support Wayne. So
well, and we appreciate that. But I know you have been a behavior consultant for 2 World Series final tables. Can you explain to our listeners what that entails?
yeah, so that was for the World WSOP main event. I consulted for Amir Lahabit and Max Steinberg. Forgetting the years exactly, but it was around the 2011 2013 time frame, and that was back when. Oh no, not 2011. That would have been like 2013, 2015, something like that.
Right.
And that was back when they had a long delay between,
November 9th.
the
The
November
November 9th.
9. Yeah, exactly. So, which, they don't do anymore, but the gap in there allowed time to prepare to like look at footage of other players, examine your own footage, think about, how you would be thinking about, basically gave you more time to think about tells, your own and other people's. So that was what I was doing. I was examining footage of the other players, giving ideas about what might happen. But a lot of those things, long story short, a lot of those things are pretty long shots because, as you'd imagine, everybody's super stoic at the November 9 or the final tables for big tournaments in general. So the chances of finding something are kind of slim, but there are still some patterns that can show up even when people are trying to be extremely stoic.
Absolutely. And how much GTO have you inserted to your non-existence poker life anymore?
Yeah, I'm pretty out of the poker scene. I mean, I've barely played in the past even like 10 years now. I've been pretty out of the scene for a while. I think when it comes to GTO, I mean, I think tells still apply. In fact, I've been talking to a high stakes player recently, corresponding with him about him using tells in his games. I can't say his name. He doesn't want me to say his name, but long story short, like tells definitely still do apply. Like in many of the videos I examine, you can find some pretty good and interesting things in high stakes games, and I think it's actually can play a significant role in terms of like when people are playing really balanced, strong poker, game theory optimal style poker, like getting a read that you're confident in, even a slightly reliable read, if you're confident it's even slightly reliable, like that can go a long way because you'll often be in these borderline decisions. So if you're like, oh, I think his behavior here made him a bit more likely to be relaxed or something, and I can fold, that means a lot when you're playing like really balanced players
Right on.
as opposed to like imbalanced players who might have large fundamental leaks in their game, right?
Right on. And I don't know if you would provide this service. If somebody wanted to provide you video of themselves playing, would you analyze that for them?
Yeah, I've done a
Is
little
that a
bit of that
service?
too. Yeah, the World Series of Poker main event guys I worked for were the more well known things I did. But I've done for several people. I've done they send me a good amount of their live stream footage, and I've done private analysis for them. I've done a few of those, and I don't really advertise it. But if somebody wanted to talk to me about it, I'm open to it. Yeah.
I love that. Love that. I want you to scroll up to the top of the screen and you'll see that one of my supporters and listeners, John Robertson, actually went to his bookshelves and took a picture of one of your books that he has and has read. And I thought I would make sure you saw that.
Oh yeah,
John
Verbal Poker Tells. Yeah.
read one of your books.
Yeah.
And I was going to go to my bookshelf too, but I just ran out of time. I think I have um, reading, I think I have Exploiting Poker Tells. I think I read that
I
one.
think that's the best one, like the best general all around one. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to check, but I'm pretty sure that's the one I've read. So I'm glad you joined us tonight for sure. All right, Wayne, that was your break for a moment. We're coming right back at you, Wayne. Donna,
Oh,
do you have?
there's a couple of things for the
Okay,
yeah, Brian did the technology scouting for the cheating, but also or cheating prevention, but also when I select players for the stream, you could find them on LinkedIn. You know who they are.
right.
If they're, from another country, then I just do what I can. And I'm a Chinese speaker, so it's kind of like you got to this country legally with legal US dollars. There's that. But yeah, that's kind of the double um, insurance on the streams that Brian and I are involved in and what we do. And of course, like we're gonna spend as much effort as we can, but something can slip through the cracks. We have no idea.
Right.
But we're making an effort, and for the people who put a lot of money on the table, we're extremely transparent about the identities of the other people and the regulars, especially if they have a problem with somebody, just they don't feel good about something, then we give priority to the the regulars who we know are completely legitimate.
Of course, as it should be, right? I'm just wondering. Um, let's see. Have you heard anything on Vertucci selling his half of HCL or any movement on that topic?
I have, but can't really
We'll
say
just
anything.
pass. We'll just
Yeah.
pass. Keep on moving down the road. No
And also mentioning
problem.
about Zach, like him saying that this is quote unquote my space. Look, Zach, you're always welcome. We're all community members. Like, you, Lyman,
Absolutely.
Cyrus. Like, I don't like you guys can come in anytime.
Oh, awesome! This is
Absolutely.
my first Twitter or X Spaces.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
we popped your cherry. Well, let me
Oh.
give you a little tour of the space. Down at the bottom, of course, is your mic. If you click on the little wand at the bottom, you can have sound effects,
Oh. Wow. Whoa.
which we try to stay off of,
Wow.
just for the record.
Fancy.
Sometimes, especially when I'm doing an interview, but when we're just doing a fun space, everybody's using the sound effects. Then the next button with the people is showing you who's in here, who's been in here, and of course, people that are listening on their laptops or computers are not going to show up there. So a lot of times after you close the space, you'll see the actual numbers and analytics of the space will pop up on the little purple square that'll remain on my Twitter feed and anyone else's that has retweeted it. Then you have the little heart button. That's where your emojis are, um, that you can send up during a conversation. Then the little scissors, you can make a clip of, anybody's conversation in a space. And then the little bubble, voice bubble on the far right, of course, is the chat of the space. And what we call our listeners that you can see their profile picture, we call that the goo. The anonymous listeners, way down at the bottom, we have 5 anonymous listeners. We call that Gitmo. So there's a little tour of, oh, and the top where I posted the picture of John Robertson's book, that is called the Jumbotron. So there's a little tour of our spaces world. Don, did you have any questions for either one of these gentlemen?
I do.
Go ahead.
Wayne, what came first, StarCraft or poker?
StarCraft by far. Well, I guess I played poker with like high school friends for like, I don't know, quarters or something. I don't even remember what stakes, but esports was definitely I had and still have like a lot of ambitions, but esports kind of was this once in a lifetime opportunity because you can only perform in a certain age range before you age out. You're just too slow. So I had dropped out of school, and then moved to Berkeley and joined DennisFongsGamers.com and just was a professional gamer for about 2 years. And, I had to make a decision. And there's going to be a podcast on it by Zombie Grub that I'll delve into it more. But basically, it's like, my parents are immigrants and really focus on academics. And while they were okay with me doing this stint, like I knew it would like break their hearts to if I, didn't try to finish college, et cetera, et cetera. When I got to college, man, jobs do not pay very much. So um, I used poker to pay for college then. So that's when I really got more into poker. And I was actually like fairly anti-gambling for like, um, even after my StarCraft days. And then just,
How long did it take you to become a world champion at StarCraft?
well, that's like a bit of a. I was the first world champion, but the game had been out for like almost 2 years. But I had two previous games, which is Command and Conquer and Warcraft 2, and I was number one ranked. But the thing is, like, being number one ranked isn't the same thing as world champion because it's just a rating, and people can avoid you. You could avoid them.
Right.
The best players may not be active at the same time, so that's why there are these tournaments that are, definitively no excuses. Everybody wants it when you're playing. So I had a lot of evidence that I had talent in the genre, and then like Jay Severson won the first Vanilla StarCraft World Championship, and I missed the registration date, but I ended up commentating that tournament, and then basically after that, the next year, I just decided to go pro, and did content on the side.
Love it. Love it. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, being in esports, I know quite a lot of esporters, but I found it interesting with what you just said. You could dodge people. So, what made you go for the next, as you said, next year after you commentated, you went for it. So, what made you do that?
Uh wow. I mean, it's it's a lot of different things added together. It's I clearly had evidence that I was quote quote good,
Yeah,
but nobody knew where this was heading. Jay Severson won $7,500 when he was, I think, he was either 19 or 20. And when you're 19 or 20 years old, $7,500 is a lot. And when you get
of
older, it's
course
like, oh,
it is.
that's a month of spending. I'm just kidding. But the allure of this being a legitimate industry, we knew it was inevitable, but we just didn't know what was going to happen, when was going to happen, when it was going to happen. And there was a lot of money flowing in Silicon Valley. So yeah, it just like there was a couple other motivations, just independence, and the world was really changing quickly in the late '90s, and I just, in retrospect, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity to um, experience this stuff.
Awesome. Thank you for that answer. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, I think John Robertson will have appreciated that because he's a big gamer himself. So, would you rather play StarCraft and Hearthstone, or would you rather play poker?
I would rather play esports, but you just age out naturally. I, in the future, I'm just gonna say this for the rest of my life. I can accomplish a lot of things. I will never be a StarCraft world champion ever again. I don't have the speed.
Fair enough.
It's more likely that I'll be richer than Elon Musk than ever be a StarCraft world champion ever again. So
I want to
that's
just
at least there's a shred of 0.0000001% possibility.
just don't forget all of us peons. Anybody in the audience that would like to ask either one of these gentlemen a question or make comments, please request that mic button in the bottom left corner. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, also, how do you put together your feature table? How long does it take you to put together, like getting your different celebrity, well, we'll call them celebrities, VIPs on? How difficult is it to like get everybody on the same page, so to speak?
The bigger the game, the harder it is. And you generally have to incentivize people to come, whether it's um some shows subsidize their certain players to show up. I can't do that. I take them out to dinner, I chat with them, I coach them or whatever, but the bigger games are the hardest. That can literally take a month if not months, and then fall apart like 2 days before.
Yeah, I always say when you're dealing with poker players, It's like herding cats.
Oh yeah.
Almost impossible to get everybody on the same page at the same time.
Yeah, and they're not being paid to show up on camera. So if it's like an actual TV or movie production, you're getting paid, so they have more incentive to show up. Here it's just like, oh, we're on camera, and a lot of them basically say that they're sticking around because of me. But or else they just wouldn't even be on camera anymore. Because it's a negative free roll for them if they have a video where they look bad.
Right.
Then it's on the internet forever.
Right. And the internet is ruthless, as we all know,
Oh yeah.
and unforgiving at times, and it's gotten ridiculous, honestly. But I do have a question for you. Has there ever been any players getting robbed after a live stream?
Unfortunately, yes, and I've always been worried about Garrett Adelstein and Andy Stacks in particular because they were always with so much on the table, but they've assured me that they have, precautions.
Right.
They almost never have that much cash on them, and also I've adopted this too. Like when I go, I don't carry that much cash. I'm there to work.
Right. 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 Right.
But yes, there definitely has been cases. Not at Live of the Bike. Actually, Doug Polk had mentioned as well that he got followed home and he had to take a turn to the cops. But yeah, it's really brutal that these things happen. I really just don't know what to say because nowadays you could like look up people's addresses, you can follow them home, and there's at least 3 cases where I know of, and is everybody just needs to be incredibly wary of this stuff and try to be as safe as possible.
Well, and don't forget, folks, you can ask security to walk you to your car.
Yeah,
I've done that several times myself, leaving a casino or card room at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I've definitely asked for a security escort to my vehicle. So there's no shame in that game, people.
in one particular case, it wouldn't have helped because they got followed home.
Oh my, that's
Yeah,
scary, isn't it?
the other two, I'm pretty sure happened there.
Very scary. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, just before I ask my next question, Jeff with 2 Fs just put something down in the chat.
Okay, go ahead.
Details on forms of subsidising taking place in the industry. And he said, also, would you mind asking what Wheeze is up to these days? So there you go, Jeff. There's your question.
Well, I don't know. That's a long-winded question. You got let go by Bally's, and there were just a lot of talk about some stuff that he was doing that wasn't too kosher, and I'll just end it there.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Go ahead, Donna.
Is there one person that you have wanted to get to play on the stream and haven't managed it yet? Who is that person?
It's not going to happen, but like Edward Norton and Matt Damon.
Why would you say it's not going to happen? Just ask.
Never say
Oh,
never.
it's just practicality purposes. It's really hard to get like these normal celebrities to play on the show without high incentives.
Matt
Like
Damon, Ed Norton, Johnny Chan, and Eric Seidel. The Rounders reunion.
There you
well,
go.
we've had Johnny Chan, Eric Seidel. That's probably non-zero.
I think Eric
Yeah,
would
I mean,
come
if
on.
Johnny Chan and Eric Seidel were at the table, that'd be great.
John Malkovich.
I love it. Those are some great names. I would definitely watch them on your stream. John Robertson, welcome to the panel. Go right ahead, sir.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Thanks for doing the Spaces chat. It's always good to hear from people in the industry. My question, well, I have questions about esports too, but starting with the poker stream stuff. I'm kind of one of the people that I started watching the streams when they first started happening a lot, and I kind of lost interest because, it's just like watching a live cash game. So one of my questions is there any interest in doing more biography pieces or storytelling things to have more narrative to the games to keep people interested, or is the plan just to stay basically just watching a live cash game all the time?
Well, there was, as everybody knows, it's easier to talk about doing things versus actually doing things. So that was the issue when people don't discuss what is possible with me and Brian. Like it just do it, and then when we say we can, and then we're running out of time to fulfill contracts, then Brian and I just do what we can to fulfill it, and then words get thrown around. And it's just like, okay, well, there's a podcast with Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, that really strikes home with this one, and it's the people who built the product really know the best, like what can be done in a certain time frame and how much is spent. So when other people who haven't done it like interject their opinions, it's just like that. That's just okay. Go ahead, try. And that's kind of what it is. It's like everybody can imagine with infinite time, energy, and resources what comes about.
Right.
And it's like you actually have to do it.
Right on. Go ahead, John.
Sure, I didn't mean that to come across as a knock or anything. I was just trying
Oh
to.
no, yeah. It's just sorry. It's a topic that even before I became an owner for Live at the Bike, like I had a lot of ambitions, and then Brian Arakaki, JJ De La Garza, like really put the brakes. They're like, whoa, 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 hold on, Wayne. We know you work very hard and you care. Let's just get these things done week by week. And then when I had energy, I would add sprinkles here and there, but it's just like a practicality thing. And also, the audience doesn't see how much debating there is in the back and how like some people just talk big and don't really do anything. So it's like in the end, like I said, when the time comes, it's me and Brian that have to execute to make sure the contract goes through. So anything else is just like, okay, let's just, you know, talk. And if they want execution, then they should be doing it.
Oh, I completely understand. I teach a class on video production in high school, so like I know that people that want to do storytelling don't understand how long it takes to make the storytelling. I was just curious if there was talks of ways to do things to keep the product fresh because it's
Oh
just
yeah. For sure. Like we've gone through, yeah, I don't know. I mean, one of the things definitely that's needed is the players need to be introduced in the beginning. And we just don't really have the time, energy, and resource and coordination to do that. We tried, but just like the problem is like I know the players the best. Most of them are most comfortable with me interviewing them. There's no cameraman and help for me, so it just kind of is what it is.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I've dealt with similar issues on a much smaller scale. So thank you for taking the
Thank
question.
you, John. Appreciate you. Before I get to ASG, I'm going to go over these websites and phone numbers again for those that may need them for the California fire situation. First, the LA Red Cross phone number is 310 445 9900. Gavin Newsom, the governor's office number is 916 445 2841. To sign up for LA County alerts, that website is lacounty.gov/emergency. The FEMA website is fema.gov/disaster/wildfire. And I have all that in different tweets on my feed. So if you didn't catch it, DM me or look at my feed and we'll definitely help you with that information. Welcome, ASG. What you got for us, my friend?
Yeah, so I think enough time has passed. So I was just curious whether it's about what to do when these things happen, or the how to decide who to invite. What, if anything, were the lessons learned out of that whole fight at the Tropicana situation?
Oh man. So the game runner there was Alex Lee, and he had a lot of pressure um, by people to do viewership, or I don't know. I just there's a lot of give or take. I don't know. It's really really difficult. Like it was asked. He asked me if like what to do, and I was like, not have them on. I don't know. It could have been it didn't have to turn out to be like that. I mean, the thing is that actual event was like a miscommunication between Austin and Jason. Like Austin was talking to himself, and Jason thought he was being insulted by Austin, and then Austin like talked back, and it just escalated. And that's the whole thing with these live streams is like, if you don't want these things to happen, then you don't invite them. At the same time, if nothing happens, then you just have a poker game. And sometimes these events are the ones that kind of go viral.
So, for our listeners' sake, could you just give some bullet points as to the event that you're talking about? What happened?
Well, Bally's definitely wants to bury it, but two players of the Tropicana were at the table, and it escalated out of miscommunication and just very aggressive and violent words were said, and it potentially could have escalated to actual violence.
Thank you for updating the audience. Go ahead, ASG.
Yeah, and then I was just kind of curious, like, because you're, as far as I know, and you can correct me, has Garrett been on any streams besides your streams?
No, he was on the Tropicana in December of 2023, and then Live at the Commerce in 2024.
Yeah, Donna actually and I were at that stream when he was on. We came over to pay a little visit.
Oh, you guys were in LA?
We were in Vegas
Oh,
Vegas.
when he was on that feed in December of 2023. So yeah, and of course we love Garrett. Hopefully he'll do an interview soon. Anyway, I'm going to play this game with me, Wayne. I'm going to say a name of a person. Please give us a comment or a story about that person. And of course, it's always okay to pass.
okay.
And that's not a problem because, it is okay. That's the world we live in. Maria Ho.
What kind of story?
That's up to you.
Um, Very proud of her achievements. I went to college with her, and we're basically family friends now. And she's just gone a long way, overcome a lot of challenges. I've seen her verbally abused at the table and have to deal with that, and just I sympathize with women in male dominated industries that have to go through that. And now she's Women Poker Hall of Famer, GLI commentator of the year, like all these award winner of Game of Gold, like yeah, just I don't know. It's very nice to be able to
Watch that
know somebody when
butterfly
they're
spread her wings.
yeah, and just like there's a period I think in 2008 or 2009, I just like I was seeing her on TV and I was like, oh yeah, it's Maria, and like we went to college with like quite a few people, and we're just talking about her very proudly about
That's awesome.
how we knew her.
That's
Yeah,
very
and I know
cool.
her sister too, Judy Ho. She's got her own show
Right.
on I don't want to get it wrong. Anyway, it's just self development, and it's there's a lot of stuff. She's a PhD from UC San Diego, and she's got a lot of insight. And the latest one is about imposter syndrome.
Oh, might have to look that
So
up. Send that to
yeah,
somebody. I like it.
So yeah, I mean,
All right.
it's just great knowing these people and the
Absolutely.
people around us growing up into
All right.
something.
One of our favorite Gitmo Spaces listener, Phil Lock.
Oh, I've said this story on commentary before. So one of the first few times, not the first or second, but one of the few times after that, I was in a hand with him at Commerce 1020, and James Woods was at the table too. So Phil raised, I think from the hijack, the button called, and I called from the big blind with ace deuce of clubs, and it was ace 7-3 1 club. I checked, he c bet, yeah, like I folded, I called, turn went check check, river. I bet one chip, $120 chip, and he spread out the pot, and he's like, "Wow, that's a lot of tanks of gas." And then eventually he made the correct fold, not paying. He flips over his hand, king queen high. So by all pot odds purposes, he probably should have just flicked in $20. But he made the correct fold.
I love it. He could have said, "Wow, that's a lot of items off the dollar menu." Like I've heard that
Yeah.
before.
His mind is so brilliant and erratic. It's nothing you guys don't already know, but it's a treat to be a good friend of his.
And I'm going to tell you,
Each other
he's
first.
another
Yeah.
one I really enjoy watching. I
Sure.
really
Yeah.
enjoy watching him. All right, a Space's favorite, Garrett.
Garrett Adelstein.
Yep.
I when the Jack 4 situation happened, I actually didn't talk to him. I think I might have left him a text message or something. Um, I was really sad because Garrett's been like a hardcore pro community member since like the early 2000s on 2+2. So like he and I didn't know each other until, and even when we saw each other at Commerce, like we didn't talk. We weren't really friends. But I knew of him. I'd like when
Right.
somebody pointed out he was Garrett Adelstein, I'm like, oh, that's G-Man. And then he was on the training site streets, like I think Deuces cracked and then run it once. Anyway, he's just been like out there, and then for 15 years he was like a pros pro, like a no limit specialist pros pro. And then this happens, and it's just like, wow, like basically some people were willing to flip his entire like whatever it was about 20 years in the industry and just like drag him through the mud. And that
It was
was
very hard to
really,
watch, wasn't it?
yeah, it was very hard to watch. And I did what I could to defend him and just kind of say that this was his history and like a lot of us witnessed it. And for his comeback game, I spent a lot of effort, and I also had told him like I lamented not doing enough. But at that time, like, a video was shot about, me defending his character, not commenting on whether Robbie cheated or not.
All
In the
right.
end, like we said, that's a really strong accusation.
Absolutely.
So that's, one of the heart to heart talks that he and I had like after the event. But, he was so swamped with his network plus dealing with HCL and all this other stuff. So he and I didn't talk about it for like months and months. But the thing is, like, I know him, he knows me. In general, we could probably guess what to 90% plus accuracy what the other one's thinking because we've just been around for
Of
so long.
course. Of course. Absolutely. All right. How about Eric?
Oh, so one thing about it, like some people just say that he like nitpicks lineups or what. It's just like it's all aligned that the game runner and the famous players want these good lineups. A lot of people don't want to play these tough lineups just to have a video like embarrass themselves. Like some people do, but you get to a certain point where you know how professional poker works. You're trying to make money off of weaker players or whatnot, and
Yep.
if the weaker players bust, then there's no game. So a lot of it's aligned with the game running and the action game and the famous players wanting, softer games, so to say. It's like not really rocket science. And then he used to be a battler. Like he was more of a battler than I was in No Limit Homeland for sure. But like he would play like a lot of people heads up, even during the Live of the Bike days off stream. Like he played against like Oscar, Dan Zach, and a couple of. I mean, I don't since like the off stream stuff. I don't know how much like you know people want to say what happened because we generally want to protect whoever
Of
lost
course.
like large amounts. But he like people accuse him of like not battling. No, he definitely did. But just like there's no rule that's like he doesn't want to play with Linus Love online. Neither do I. Neither does anybody else. Like I asked this question in a lot of interviews. It's just like yeah, like it gets to a certain point where he's like, I don't want to play this person.
And guess what? He's entitled to that opinion. And guess
Exactly.
what? Nobody can, and folks are not entitled to judge that opinion because you don't know all the details, and
His money too.
yeah, and it's his
Like
money,
it's
it's his
time.
stack.
Yeah.
Let's move on to how about Eric Hicks?
Eric Hicks, he's the mad genius. Actually just had dinner with him, Phil Locke, and Jennifer Tilly 2 days ago at Duck House. Yeah, I mean he's like
He's funny as
it's
hell.
he's super funny, he's super witty. He cracked a joke not this time, but two times before I saw him. You guys know the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Right.
Yeah, he was like Rich Dad Poor Son.
Oh, I love it. How about Ludacris?
Oh, I don't want to comment on that
No
one.
problem. No, 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 no. That's fine. No worries. How about Joey Ingram? A Space's favorite.
Yeah. He's I love his podcasts and yeah, I don't know what to say. Like he's a strong contribution to the poker community.
Absolutely. How about Lyman?
Lyman, he gave me a job when I went broke, so I owe him a lot. He was supposed to come in, but he was busy. I do want to. I am gonna comment on Ludacris. So he's good friends with Ryan Feldman, and gonna have to respect that they work well together.
Sure.
But just some stuff was yeah, I don't know. Like there's some app games going on, and it's not really my cup of tea in place to comment because like you know my dollars are legal,
Look,
and these app games are at minimum gray area.
well, and you know what? Like we just said about Garrett, you're entitled to your opinion too. What about Eric Pearson? You mentioned him earlier.
Yeah, he's definitely a go-getter, visionary, came from a poor background, and I don't know if people know that he does a lot of charity work too for poor people. He's like personally there, and
Good for him. I think people, much like Phil Hellmuth, um, a lot of people don't know his softer side. I don't think a lot of people know Eric's softer side either. Um,
yeah. So there's a thing, a caveat, and this happens with Garrett too, and myself, Andy Stacks. It just like when we're playing poker, we're in the industry, so to say, we're one persona, and then when we're completely removed and we're in the real world, we're like a different
yeah, I
persona.
think everybody
Like
is. I mean, I don't want to.
yeah,
I don't want to be a sweetheart lady at the poker table. I want you to think I'm a badass bitch at the poker table. Come on.
yeah. So just like poker, we all have to decide how to deal with this industry because it's a business,
Right.
and
Right.
everybody's going to have a different perspective, different abilities, different goals.
Absolutely.
So yeah, for like Joey's also a pro, Garrett's a pro, Doug Polk. So we have this side of us that played online and live, and there's like a certain range of what's accepted, how we believe, what we believe in things, and then the real world side. Yeah, Eric Person has his casino businesses. He also is in private games where he's done well. And then he has the human side of him where he's just away from all that. He's a father.
Right.
And yeah, it's just,
Absolutely. And, I think back, I love when I go back to watch an old Live at the Bike video and Doug Polka's on there. He looks like he's like 12 years old. And, how far he's come in life. And it's awesome to see the revolution, right? And honestly, I didn't know Eric Pearson until maybe 2 years ago or so. He came on my radar, and I definitely enjoy him watching him at the table as well. Um, but it's nice to hear the other side of that story, and I think more people need to hear that. All right, the last name I'm going to throw out there is going to be a former space cadet, Nick Vertucci.
well, Nick and I personally didn't have issues. It's just like when you're game running or when you have competing shows, you're gonna step on each other's
Right
toes.
on.
It is
It's
what it
just part
is.
of the business,
Yeah.
for sure.
That goes for like a lot of the Hustler Casino Live people. It's like, I actually had dinner with Nick Airball, like with Nick Group with like Charles and Han like half a year ago. And we all know what's going on. It's a bid. We have there's competing aspects to the shows.
Of
So none of
course.
it's personal. And I think I said this in one of Eric Person's game too, was like I was a stray bull. Like Nick Airball was like going after Garrett and like my name came up and I was like, oh man, like why'd you have to go there kind of thing. And Garrett kind of clapped back, and I mentioned in commentary that on air, like a good number of people are playing characters,
Yes.
and it's been mentioned that I am who I am in real life and online and commentary, etc. And I was gonna say that might be more the exception than the norm.
I love that. ASG, any more questions or comments?
Something triggered, and now I don't remember anymore. But can you at least agree that Garrett's the worst Survivor player of all the poker players?
I actually don't watch Survivor. I'm actually very good friends with Ronnie Barta. I do know JRB. At this juncture, like probably closer with Garrett than JRB. But JRB, Maria Ho, and I, we used to play like the $3, $5 no limit at Commerce in like the early 2000s. The $200 buy-in. We were at the same table. So like that's how far back that we all go. So like the poker community is small, and it's in a sense that like in other industries, if you're all the way to the top or you're all the way to the bottom, maybe you like never meet, or even if you're in the middle. But in the casino, the smallest stakes and the highest stakes are literally like on the opposite side of the room. So it's this weird, like you're really right next to people potentially that have a lot of media presence and impact, and it's just, I don't know. It's an interesting experience to watch people grow up, come and go, see each other. Even today, like at Commerce, um, I saw Robert Nan and I hadn't seen him, and I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going on? How's it going?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I haven't seen you in 5 years." I'm like, I don't remember the length of time that I haven't seen somebody. I just know when I know somebody.
Right. And you haven't seen him for a while. We don't know how long of a
Yeah,
while,
but
but you haven't seen him in a while.
yeah, and just nowadays I've seen so many people. Like there's people I know, and it was like I can't even remember how.
Yeah,
But
I hear you. ASG, did that come back to you, or you want me to keep moving forward?
Okay, you can keep moving on. I don't remember. Yeah.
Okay, no worries. John Robertson, any other questions or comments?
Nope, I think I'm good. I appreciate everybody's time this
I
evening.
appreciate you. Uh, Zach, I want you to tell us anything you want us to know about what you're doing in life now that you want to promote for yourself.
Oh, thank you. I just say, well, I have a general behavior and psychology podcast, People Who Read People, and occasionally I talk about poker on there. I have a compilation of the poker episodes I've done that you can easily find on my website, which is behavior-podcast.com. Talk to a few people like Daro Kearney and other people about poker tells over the years. So Yeah, thank you all for inviting me on. Appreciate it.
I'm glad that Wayne reached out to you. It was nice to meet you, and I hope you join us again. ASG, I see your hand up. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, what, if anything, do you think is like the future of streaming poker? Like, is it just gonna be more of the same type of cash games, or different type of players, different kind of things? Like, yeah, what do you think might be where streaming poker evolves to?
Look, we've had, I mean, even amongst like Evelyn, Brian Arakaki, JJ, and myself, and that, and Dan Zach and that group, is like we had ideas, but the thing is, you need time, energy, and resources. So if an entity or several entities were to step up, and I do know that there are talks being involved, then you know it can happen. But if it's in this cycle of like we need to get the games down to fulfill the next contract, then that's kind of where the hub stops.
Right.
So like yeah, I mean even Phil Locke had some good ideas about, and actually chess had already started adopting this, which is having people's heart rates during the show.
Oh, I was actually gonna mention that after this. I mean, people have talked about this before, but like some kind of fun setup where you can everybody's hooked up to heart rate and skin conductance monitors, and you have a few certain options to use that during the game to like pay to see your opponent's metrics displayed on a monitor. Some stuff like that would be really fun.
Oh yeah, and Alex Botez brought up a lot of stuff too. It just yeah, I mean,
Hard to implement, obviously. Yeah.
very hard to implement. Like, it's a miracle that the games even go down. That's just what I'll
I
say. Like,
think the
people don't.
heartbeat would bring a fun twist to it. I think the heartbeat, or instead of phone a friend, phone a heartbeat, or
Well,
There's
Bally's had the phone a friend thing, and like, but just like it's all good on paper, and when people aren't the ones doing it, and then the people doing it is like, okay, like we don't
they're not
have.
bought in, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, just a lot of things. It's
Yeah.
like
Yep.
It's a lot
there's
harder. It's a
people.
lot harder to do than, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
got a video film degree, so I know how that goes too. Yeah.
It's
Understandable.
like it's a lot of stuff is, and even like when I started, like I said, as a coner live of the bike, like I had some ideas, and Brian Arakaki just like basically shut them down as not reality. And within a week, I'm like, oh my god, everything he said was right. So because I'm the one who has to do it.
Right.
But other people who don't have to do the work and just say, just do it. It's like you have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't see the
You know?
vision of the whole picture sometimes.
It's not, yeah, it's not that the idea is bad. It's just like the
Right.
practicality and the is just like not there.
I get.
Well, and everybody wants stuff as long as they don't have to do the work to make it happen too.
Yeah, exactly. And like there have been times where like, okay, will somebody else do it? I'm like, go ahead, have fun.
I would say minor electric shock, but I must say
Oh my
it's like
God.
that.
This chick. A kettle prod? Oh, Donna. Any more questions, lovey?
I do. I've just posted in the chat down below that the Pokerog did a recent Matt Damon interview, and he said all of us want to do a second rounders movie. So much has happened in the poker world in the last 25 years. It would be fun to catch up with those guys. Well, there's your in.
Sounds like karma.
Wait, I didn't catch that.
Matt Damon said that he'd like to do a
Oh yeah,
second
yeah,
rounders movie. So
yeah.
there's your in to get Matt Damon playing.
I'll try like yeah. There's a couple other bottlenecks, but
I get that, but it's just an idea, and I'm going to put my tin hat on now and say I've still never seen rounders yet. So, on that note, thank you very much for answering my questions. I'm dipping.
All right, now I'm going to ask the question or read the comment that Bathwater for Buy-ins wrote in the chat. Garrett actually did play another live stream. Garrett played the
Oh,
three,
that's right, the WPT.
the 300,
Yeah.
600 No Limit WPT live
Yeah.
stream back in
Forgot.
December 2023. And I do remember that now. That bathwater reminded us. So thank you for,
My bad.
no worries. That, the one thing about spaces is you're going to get real-time corrections. And I love that because
Sure.
that way we're giving out the right information and we never take offense when we get the right information handed to us in the chat for sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap it up, you guys. Wayne, did you have anything you wanted to touch on that I haven't touched on? Anything you want to promote besides your two-handed hold'em game? Go ahead.
Sandy Joy was in the chat. I don't think she's here now, but shout out to her. She's been in Live with the Bike fan a lot longer than myself. And I've been in Live with the Bike since, or poker streaming / Live with the Bike since 2015. And just again shouting out Brian Arkaki, who's the director, co-owner of Live with the Bike, that's been there 2 years longer than me. It just made a lot of the tough learning
The baptism by fire
curve. Yeah, it's made he's taking the punches, and all I had to do is listen to his experience, and just made things a lot easier.
Nice.
So yeah, but there's a lot of stuff coming on with Bally's and others, other places in commerce. So we're just waiting to see how that goes.
Well,
But
we will
yeah,
keep posted by your tweets. So,
okay.
and we will retweet them for you to help you promote what you're doing for sure. Go ahead, ASG.
Yeah. So, you talking about that other game that you're trying to get spread or whatever, or be a game at your casino, made me think of just trying to think of what I'm trying to say with rules for games. Now, when we spoke to some of the HCL people, they were saying that they're technically separate from the casino, so they don't need to abide by certain rules and stuff. Is that how it works with the the other streams as well?
No. At Live of the Bike and Live of the Commerce, they abide completely by the bicycle and commerce regulations. So I don't know what the other shows do, but it's not my business.
So when you spread games, do you have to have the exact rules of the games? Because when I was in
right now, double board bomb pots are not allowed at commerce. They were before, but the DOJ in commerce works very closely. There's no run it twice as well. So that's hampered some stuff, but in the end, commerce wants the cleanest ship, and they do that. So if there's no specific approved rules, then it's not going to happen. That's caused some friction or debate, but it is it's their card house.
Right on. And let me ask you this. If you were to do a splash the pot, can you actually put the item in the pot or not in California?
I think they have to apply for the bonus, because there's a splash the pot bonus outside the casino, but when somebody wins, they have to give their ID and driver,
Okay. Okay.
sign
Let
stuff.
me just rephrase it. Excuse me. I've done meetup games in Las Vegas, and for shits and giggles and fun, I get items donated or I buy items myself to give away as splash the pot items. I'll get copies of poker books donated. And then I'll give them, we'll say, okay, this next hand is a splash the pot hand for this poker book. And we're not allowed to put the book actually in the pot. We can just, I could just say what the prize is, and
Yeah,
then
probably. Yeah, just talk about it on the
yeah,
side. The bike let us do that, but commerce is very strict with
Yeah,
compliance.
and I didn't know
And
what California's rules are. That's what I'm asking because I have.
it's going to be different.
Yeah,
Yeah, different per card room.
right,
But like, Commerce has basically said, you follow these rules or we are not going to do this.
right. And in Nevada,
So
it's actually a
the most strict,
well,
yeah.
and it is a law, law regulation by the Gaming Commission that item cannot go in the pot. So there's like no gray area, and I have no problem with that. I just wondered if California still had that regulation or not. I'm just curious.
The documents for these things are 3
Right,
digits.
right. No, I get it. No, I get it. I was just curious, as I said. So, all right, you guys, I appreciate Wayne and Zach coming in tonight, as well as my listeners and those that'll listen in a future time.
Hey, Zach, do you have a discount code for your stuff for the audience?
Discount code.
Oh, I mean, I probably do, but I can't think of it offhand. Just email me if you want some discount, I guess. But thank you. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate you all. And again, we need to keep praying for those folks in California and New Orleans. And hopefully, those fires will be extinguished sooner than later. Appreciate everybody. If you're playing on the felt, good luck. If not, get outside and touch the grass. Much love. Good night, everybody.